What is good? Welcome to the latest episode of Making Sense of Music Business. So in the last couple of weeks, we have talked about the pros and cons of both buying exclusive beats as well as leasing beats. But in this video, I really wanted to touch on the importance of why every aspiring artist, in my opinion, should at least have a basic understanding of production. So this is the alternative to just buying beats at all, is that you can just make your own beats. So there are some major advantages to this, but they come at a cost, and I think you should be aware of those costs, and despite the costs, I think you should still do it, at least in some capacity. After you get your setup, after you get a decent amount of instruments or plugins that are really necessary, which on a lot of DAWs, you really can get by with just stock stuff and make some really incredible music. Making your own beats is free. You're creating something from nothing. You're creating value from basically thin air. You are taking something purely from your own imagination into something that can be tangibly enjoyed. And in that way, you're creating pure value. It's easier than ever to do this. For almost any artist that you can think of, you can just type in the YouTube search bar above me and just say, how to produce whatever type beat. And you can watch a bunch of different videos of a bunch of different people breaking down their processes and learning from as many people as that you want. Now, obviously, production takes time. Some people are going to be more naturally inclined to it than others. And if you want to produce beats at the level of the same beats you want to buy, it's going to take a lot of time. And if you're trying to put out something like in the immediate, then you might not be up to par on the time frame that you could be if you just worked with somebody else. But if you have at least a basic understanding of production, then one, you can adjust beats. When you buy a beat, let's say you buy a beat lease and you get the stems, you can rearrange it. Or you can hear an idea on a track that maybe one of your homies produces, or maybe a beat that you find for a low price online. You can say, that's a good idea. I'm like 90% sold on this beat, but I don't like everything about it. If you have the right understanding of production, then you can just take it the rest of that 10%. You can change it. You can do whatever you want. The control is, you can't beat it. And with that control comes the capacity to do something truly unique. I really feel that if you really want to have the most unique, most identifiable sound, there's no better way than to just do it yourself. Easier said than done. But unless you're working with another producer that has their own sound or creates a sound with you as like a package type of deal, this is the best way to do it. It's one of one. If you create a process in your production workflow that is unique to you, you're gonna make things that sound unique to you. And of course, in learning how to produce for yourself, you also gain a skill. Now you can produce for other people, and that's another way that you can potentially make money. Shoot, that's what I'm doing, right? Understanding how beats are made is also going to ultimately make you a better songwriter, because you have to think, there's a difference between just a beat maker and a producer and a songwriter. A producer is a songwriter and a beat maker when it comes to the hip hop or electronic or pop worlds like this. When you're thinking about as a vocal artist, if you have an understanding about how songs are structured generally, when it comes to production, you're just going to have a more complete and more aware understanding of the process and know where you can use your voice as an instrument to complement a production to be a song. Some of the best songs, in my opinion, by some of the biggest artists in the world are actually pretty simple because they leave room for the vocalists. Your vocals are an instrument. And ideally, instead of just sitting on top of a finished production, your vocals are a necessary instrument, an integral instrument that is weaved in and out of the production and the arrangement of that song. And ultimately, that's how most hit records are made, if not all hit records. Honestly, it takes time, and I know it can be very intimidating if you haven't produced anything, but there's no better time than now. It's never, ever, ever been cheaper and easier to learn how to just make your own music from scratch. There's a saying that the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago, and the second best time to plant a tree is today. And I think that's how a lot of people need to approach just gaining a new skill set when it comes to their music. If you learn how to at least be aware in your production is going to take your artistry to a new level. You're going to be able to break down productions that you hear online and in person, and you're going to be able to structure and verbalize what you want when you're working with a producer, and you'll have a vocabulary to be able to take what you're hearing in your head and then relay that to another human being. And that's another really, really critical skill for making music in general. So whether or not you are an artist that buys other beats or produces beats yourself, I think you should learn about production. You should learn about songwriting. You should learn about arranging. Even some of the most legendary producers. Let's take Kanye West, for instance. He's a legendary producer. He can make crazy beats in a wide variety of different styles. He still works with other people. He still buys beats from other people. But because he's a producer, because he's so intimately familiar with the production and the arrangement and songwriting process, his DNA is weaved through everything that he touches, even if he didn't actually produce the beat himself. But it's really hard to get there if you just stay away from production. I hope this was helpful. When you really start to dig into the production world, it also helps you to discern where the valuable producers to connect with are. You'll hear sounds and you're gonna appreciate things. You're gonna appreciate music on a different level once you get in and get your hands dirty in the process of actually making music. You're gonna just hear sound textures. You're gonna hear things and be like, how did somebody do this? And you're gonna appreciate music to a whole new level. I think production's for everybody, and you should start. So, see you next week.